We're back with another YouTube video, Casual Take MMA, looking at the fights to make after UFC 303. Let's get into it. Starting off with the main event, Alex Pereira knocked out Yuri Prochazka. No questions asked this time. No questions about an early stoppage. Y'all saw how Yuri was when he stood up. That man was out of it. I think you have to do Poatan versus Magomed Ankalaev. Alex Pereira has been running through everybody in that light heavyweight division. The only real question we still have for this dude is, can he fight a real wrestler? Now, I know there's been talks of him moving up to heavyweight, and I'm all for that. But I think he needs to get through this final challenge at light heavyweight, and then we can talk about him fighting a John Jones or a Tom Aspinall or whoever is the champion at heavyweight at that time. This is such an interesting matchup to me. Beforehand, I would have told you that Magomed Ankalaev would smoke Alex Pereira, just because Alex Pereira has no ground game. He's been taken down by Izzy. He's been taken down by Jan Blachowicz. And Ankalaev is a much better wrestler than all of those guys. But after watching him fight Yuri for the second time, this man continues to improve and evolve as a fighter. I think he would get the job done against Ankalaev as well. I can tell he's been working on his grappling. I do believe Ankalaev would still be able to get him down, but I don't know if Ankalaev is really a finisher on the ground. I think Magomed Ankalaev missed his chance to fight Poatan. Poatan is getting better and better, and the chances for Magomed Ankalaev to beat Poatan are getting slimmer and slimmer. I think Alex Pereira would beat Magomed Ankalaev and probably knock him out with that left hook, just like he's been doing to everybody. Next up, we've got Yuri Prochazka. This one's tough. He just got slept by Alex Pereira, obviously. Honestly, in my opinion, I want to see Yuri Prochazka move down to middleweight. I know he's talked about it in the past. He said he wanted to regain the light heavyweight championship and then move down to middleweight, but that is not in his future, in my opinion. I don't think he's going to regain that belt as long as Poatan is still here. So why not make the move down to middleweight? But before that, I do want to see him take some time away, go into his shed, go into the woods, think about life, get his mind right, and take some time to diet and get down to 185 at a healthy rate. But then once he's ready, once he's back in that mode, why not fight a guy like Paulo Costa? I think that would be such a fun fight. I don't want to jump him right into the top 5 of the rankings. I'm not saying he couldn't compete with him. I think he could probably become middleweight champion if you wanted to. But I think you start him off with a guy like Paulo Costa, who's an entertaining fighter, and would kind of bridge him right into a top 5 fight right there to put him close to a title shot. Also, the top of the middleweight division is very hectic right now. Go ahead and give Yuri some time. Let him fight Paulo Costa. Give some time for the middleweight title picture to kind of resolve itself. And then maybe Yuri's right there knocking at the door for his own title shot. Now, if Yuri Prochazka decides to stay at light heavyweight, there is one guy I've been wanting to see him fight for the longest time, and that is Jan Blachowicz. I think it would be great for both of them. Both guys coming off of a loss. I really don't want to see Yuri Prochazka's chin start declining. I'm not saying it will. I'm hoping that it won't. I just don't want to see him turn into a Johnny Walker or a Dominic Reyes, because I can just see in my head Yuri Prochazka becoming a chinny fighter who just ends up getting slept cold like Johnny Walker's been doing. I hope that's not the case, though. If he stays at light heavyweight, give me Blachowicz versus Yuri. All right, and in the co-main event, sadly, we did not get to see Diego Lopez versus Brian Ortega, but Diego Lopez did get the win over Dan Ige. I do want to see them try to rebook Diego Lopez versus Brian Ortega. I do know Brian Ortega has been talking about moving up to 155, so we'll have to see what happens there. And he has to recover from the sickness or whatever's been going on. But if Diego Lopez versus Brian Ortega does not happen, I think you have to throw a guy like Yair Rodriguez in there. He's perfect for UFC 306, perfect for Mexican Independence Day. And on top of that, this fight would be a banger. Two really exciting fighters. Diego Lopez, very hyped up prospect. Yair Rodriguez, such a creative striker. Diego Lopez doesn't necessarily have the best striking defense, but this fight would be really fun. I think somebody would be getting finished. It'd be a great fight to throw on that Sphere card. And for Dan Ige, shout out to him for stepping up on 4 hours notice. That's unheard of. He can pretty much get whatever he wants. I already know Dana White has told him he could fight on the Sphere if he wants to. I didn't pick an opponent for him, but whichever fight he wants, he's more than likely going to get. I'm sure he's on Dana's good side right now. And moving on, we've got Roman Dolidze coming off of a win over Anthony Smith, which I was not impressed by either one of those guys at all. Now, Roman Dolidze did his job. He got the W. I know he's coming in on short notice, but not super impressed with it. I know he was making his light heavyweight debut, but I want to see him go back down to middleweight. Roman Dolidze still in the top 10. Apparently, he's top 10 in 2 divisions now, but he's lost 2 in a row at middleweight. Fluffy Hernandez has built a nice win streak for himself. I think it's such a fun fight and such a fight that's needed in that division. I think if Fluffy Hernandez were to get a win over Dolidze, that opens the door for him to fight a top 10 contender and maybe keep making a run at this title. I don't think you can reward Roman Dolidze too much for beating Anthony Smith because it is Anthony Smith, but I think this is a very good fight to make in that division. Why not throw it on a fight night card? And then for Anthony Smith, totally unimpressed by his performance. He actually bothered me how he was fighting. He gassed out even before Roman Dolidze did, and he had more time to prepare. But I think you throw him in there with a guy like Dominic Reyes, 2 washed veterans of the sport. They've been around for a little minute now. Both have fought John Jones and lost and haven't been the same since. I think this is a good fight to kind of bridge either one of them into retirement, or maybe even both of them. I think they both should be fairly close to retiring. They're just not the same as they used to be. Dominic Reyes did finally get a win in his last fight, though, against Dustin Jacoby. So that was pretty cool. Make this fight Anthony Smith versus Dominic Reyes. Throw this one on a fight night as well. And moving on, we've got Ian Machado Gary coming off of the decision win over Michael Venom Page. Not the most entertaining fight by any means. Ian Gary still undefeated, however. Why not give him a guy like Jack Della Maddalena? Now, JDM's also undefeated. He was supposed to fight Shavkat, but he's been injured. I don't think that fight's happening anymore. Also, I've been hearing rumors that Shavkat is going to fight Kamaru Usman in Abu Dhabi. So if Shavkat really is going to be booked, I think you have to make Ian Gary versus JDM for a title eliminator bout. I'd be super hyped for this fight. 2 very good strikers. Ian Gary more of a kickboxer, JDM more of a boxer. But I'd be all for this matchup. And then finally, we got Michael Venom Page coming off of that loss to Ian Gary. I think you got to stick MVP in as many fun fights as you can. I thought about Wonder Boy. I even thought about Jeff Neal. But I think you throw him in there with a guy like Joaquin Buckley. But Buckley's on a nice little run in that welterweight division. Both guys ranked in that division. Both guys are going to trash talk. They're going to do their best to sell the fight. And honestly, anything could happen in this fight. Both guys have big KO power in their hands. Both guys have great personalities. This would be such a fun fight. And if Buckley were to get a W over MVP, that would be such an impressive win. And I think he even puts himself into fighting a top 10 contender in that division. But this would be a really interesting matchup. MVP's got that one-shot power. Buckley also has that one-shot power. But MVP is so good at that distance management. Not sure how this will play out. But that's going to do it for me. If you came over from my TikTok, I appreciate the support. I appreciate the love. Y'all make sure to subscribe, like the video, and let me know which fights y'all want to see next.